Yo, what's up guys? I hope everyone's doing well. In this video, I'm going to rank the best vocal IEMs that I have heard so far, and I'm going to break it up into 5 sections. So for the S tier, we have the top 5 or my 5 favorites, with also contenders that I have not heard yet. For the A tier, these are IEMs that are worth buying for the vocals alone, but doesn't quite make it into my top 5. And then in the B tier, these are IEMs with good vocals, but the vocals are not the main focus, as well as having some sort of drawback. Next, we have the C tier, which are just, the vocals are average, they don't ruin the song, but they also have some drawbacks as well. And finally, in the D tier, these are IEMs that I don't recommend for vocal specific libraries. So normally these would be either have some sort of major errors that would make me be like, no thanks. But yeah, let's just jump into it. So starting off with IEMs I don't recommend for vocals, we have the infamous and famous U12T. Now, in terms of pure staging, layering, technicalities, resolution, the U12T is probably one of the best, but vocal-wise, it can get spicy, and most importantly, the vocals are too distant, they're a bit recessed because of the vocal scoop, and it makes the vocals feel hollow and kind of empty and floaty. So that's the main reason why I don't recommend it, because it just feels too distant and disengaged. I don't quite get the same goosebumps as I get with the RS5, for example, when I listen to vocal specific tracks, because the vocals are just not engaging enough and they're not intimate enough and really lack that musical and emotional connection with the music and song and the artist. So that's why I don't like the U12T for vocals personally, because they just feel too disengaged and too scooped out. But the rest of the D tier can be split into 2 categories. So the first categories are the ones that just have too much bass, they're too muddy, they're too congested, the vocals are a bit muffled, and they're not fully extended. So those IEMs would be like the Tri-Kai, the HBB Melee, the Sony's XM4s, the Blondes, the ST5, Ross Finch, and HBB, like bass heavy sets. And as for the other side, we have IEMs like the Joy Audio Shine and the K-Bear Storm, which are just too bright and too sharp in the vocal regions that just makes it fatiguing and hard to listen to. All of these IEMs have some sort of major drawback as, being too scooped out, too recessed, too sharp, and too muddy. Moving on to the C tier, these are IEMs that are just average, they don't ruin the song, they're just there and they do their job. So for example, the IE200, it's a bit recessed, it's not as forward as I would like them, but it doesn't do anything wrong, it's not too sharp, it's not too bloated, it's just okay, right? Same with the AirPod Pros, same with the, the Korean Midnights, the Star Seas, the Aria, the Starfields, the Wanar, Hola, Cadenza, the budget IEMs. They just do their job very well, but they don't do anything amazing, they don't ruin the song, you get the point. Now, I have the S12, the Timeless, and the Truth the Zeros also in average because of their scaling issues. So at mid-volume, they actually sound very nice, they're very open, they're very clean, they're very clear, but they're a bit light, and especially when you crank it up, it just gets too spicy and you just can't listen to them for a long period of time without getting fatigue and like a ringing in your ears. So that's why they're here and not anywhere higher. Next, we have the B tier IEMs, which are very good for vocals but have one drawback. So for example, the Mahina and Galileo are very clean and they're very forward, and the vocals are very intimate and emotional, but they can be more open because they have a little bit of mid-bass and treble roll-off, which can make them a bit dark and slightly muffled. That's the only complaint that I really have. And some other examples would be the EJ07M, the kind of Lava Edition, the P1 Max, the Sense Up, the Meteor, the Hana 2021, and the Legato. These are all very warm signatures, but they can be a little bit cleaner and clearer, so that would be one of the drawbacks to those sets. Next, we have the Oracle Mark IIs, the OG Monarchs, B2 Dusk, the ER2XR, the SE, the new SimGot EA500, and the OG Olina at mid-volume. Now, all of these are all very clean and they're all very open and transparent, but they can get spicy and they have a hard time scaling with volume, making them potentially fatiguing at longer listening periods. Some other IEMs that are clean and not spicy, but they're a bit too distant and too pushed back, are the SA6 Ultra, these IER Z1R, the MES Mark II, BQ UIZ Winter, the original Oxygen, Olina SC/Airship, and then the AirPods Pro 2. So all of these are very nice actually, but they're just a bit too pushed back for my personal liking, since I like more forward vocals and more engaging and intimate listening experience. Next, we have clean and open IEMs, very neutral and very quote-unquote correct, but can get thin. So for example, the variation is a perfect example of this. It's very clean, it's very open, it's very breathy and very airy, but it can get a bit thin and shrill in the voices. We also have the Heyday, the Kato, the Hexa, the Con, Cortex DSP, the Ola, and the Galaxy Buds 2 Pros. So all these have a very traditional presentation, so not too forward, not too recessed at the perfect distance, but they can get a bit thin because of a lacking mid bass or a little bit too much treble. Moving on, we have the A tiers, which are IEMs that are worth buying for the vocals alone. So, an example of these would be the EJ07M, the IEM Moonlight, the MMagtech T2, and the OGC Audio Yume. The main difference between the A tier and the B tier is that the A tier IEMs don't have that much issues, and their timbre is very correct and very natural. So for example, the EJ07M is just a better variations because it fills in the mid bass and makes it less thin while being still very natural, very open, very clean and clear with no timbre issues. The Moonlight, on the other hand, is the Mahina, but it's cleaner, less muffled, but also has that foreignness and natural intimacy to the vocals. And if you're looking for a more neutral vocal presentation, then the MMagtech T2 and the Yume does that perfectly. So they're not going to be as open or as forward as the EJ07M or the Moonlight, but they're very neutral and they're very safe, and they do nothing wrong in terms of vocal clarity, vocal timbre, and vocal presentation. But as great as the A tier IEMs are, they just lack some of that special sauce that the S tiers have. So starting with the top 5, at number 5 is the OG Oracles. These are some of the most natural IEMs that I have ever heard, period, and their vocals are incredibly clean, clear, crisp, but also very gentle with a little bit air from that treble. Its overall vocal presentation is more laid back and just allows you to really just relax and just float in the music. If I were to give it an analogy, the OG Oracles would be like the gentle spring rain, very comforting, very clean, and just washes all the stress away. Next, at the number 4 spot, we have the original Dark Magicians. Now, these are similar to the OG Oracles, but they're more forward and their sound is bigger. Like the OG Oracle, the DM also have that sparkly, airy treble in the vocals, but they're a lot more closer to you and they're more intimate and engaging, which is what I prefer. Vocals have a heavier feel to them and not as clean as the Oracles, but they're a lot more emotional, textured, and engaging. An analogy for the Dark Magician would be like a bottle of champagne. The vocals have a very special fizziness and air to them. At the number 3 spot, we have the original EJ07. Now, these are very similar to the Dark Magicians actually, but except for they're cleaner and clearer, but also forward at the same time, which is why I prefer these over the Dark Magicians and the Oracles, except for the airy treble, I guess. But the advantage is that you get much better scaling and immersiveness as a result of less treble. The EJ, with its expansive staging and its tamer treble, allows you to really crank up the volume and just immerse yourself into the music and really let the music take you on a journey, which is why I think the EJs are so special in that regards, because it feels like you're one with the vocals and you just kind of forget about everything else and you just kind of float off. Finally, in the number 1 and number 2 spot, we have the RS5 and the original MMagtech. Now, I currently don't have the T, so I don't know how it compares to the RS5, but A-being it previously to the EJ07s, I definitely prefer the T more. So it's just going to be a toss-up between the RS5 and the T for the number 1 and number 2 spot. But that aside, these two are the best vocal IEMs that I have ever heard. They're on another level to me. It feels like I'm getting blasted by a beam of light every time I listen to them. It feels like I'm levitating, and the energy from the vocals is perfectly balanced. It's right on the edge of being too much, and it feels like the vocals are coming out right directly from me. Vocals are so natural, they're fully extended, very open, and because it's so forward, the vocal detail and texture, and just like the breathing from the artist, those micro nuances are very clear and apparent to you. It's never too shouty, it's not sharp, and it's not congested either. So it's just perfect. I don't know what else to say. Some other potential contenders are the Monarch Mark II, the Diva, and the Supernovas, which I have not heard yet, and the Monarch, I need to re-listen to them because I'm pretty sure I had a fit issue. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Please go demo them before you go buy them because everyone have different ears, different preferences, so don't just blind buy off of my list. But anyways, thanks for watching guys. I'll see everyone in the next video. Peace.